we're going to start with our new Dolphins, and they're going to introduce themselves to everybody. So Lily, you want to kick it off?
Yes, can you guys hear me? Okay. My name is Lily Reed. I'm on the investment team at Lewis & Clark Agri-Food, which as the name suggests is an agriculture and food venture capital and growth investment firm based here in St. Louis, Missouri. So prior to joining around 2 years ago, I worked at an artificial intelligence tech startup. And while I was there, got to help lead the strategic finance function and grow the business, fell in love with the entrepreneurship side, and then wanted to move over into venture capital investing, which is what brought me to Lewis & Clark. But really excited to be here today and learn more about the innovation going on in the industry.
Thank you, Lily.
I'm Jack Cornell. I'm the Director of Sustainable Supply at United Soybean Board. United Soybean Board, we represent 515,000 farmers that operate in the United States. We are a check-off organization, so it's essentially a way a farmer self-tax themselves to have an ability to invest their funds into a group that helps find projects and innovations for farmers and progress, their industry forward in this space. And so happy to be here and learn about some of these innovations.
Great, thanks, Jack.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the invitation, Dan and the whole team. My name is Guillermo Bort. Here with, I would say, two capacities. One as director of Valent Biosciences, a prominent company in the biological space. And the second one, I'm one of the partners of the Yield Lab Latam. Very proud to see many of our companies here. As you know, we got 21 investments already made, Latin American entrepreneurs, and looking forward to find the right place for those entrepreneurs here in the San Luis ecosystem. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Guillermo. And just a quick reminder how this works. Each innovator is going to have 6 minutes to share their pitch. So it'll be quite rapid fire, just really looking forward to that. And then we will turn it over to our Dolphins to bring a few supporting questions. And then we have Savannah down here with her time card. She'll be letting us know when there's about a minute up on the questions. And we will go from there. We're going to turn it over now to Carlos from AWA.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carlos Hirsch, and I'm here representing AWA. And for those that watch the Avatar movie, that's where the num comes from. Is that tree in the movie that connects with everything. They also say it's a Japanese word. I know there's somebody from Japan here. Maybe we can talk later and see if that's true. But that's what I was told when I joined the company. So thank you for participating in this event. Before we get started, I'll do a quick trick with the audience. So please put your phones down because we're going to need both hands. And so our neurons connect with each other, and in order to create a new connection, it's pretty hard. So we'll try that real quick here in less than a minute. Finger like this, and switch, 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 switch. Come on, come on, come on. Keep it. So that's how you build a new neuron connection. So going into that, now everybody's awake from lunch. Data in agriculture, right? Everybody has data, but and what? So the issue today in ag, we believe in AWA, is not that we have lack of data, we have plenty of it, and more coming, more sensors coming, more detailed satellite imagery coming, more drones flying. There's more of everything. And if you ask anybody in the industry that is dealing with data, especially those in research, but more and more now those in marketing and sales teams and product development teams, they are inundated with data. So that is where the idea came from. AWA started about 9 years ago in Argentina doing breeding programs with drones, and quickly realized that that was not the only problem. That was just one piece of the big puzzle. These guys have to build to either advance new products or convince customers that that's why they should go with the technology that they're developing. So with that, what we came up with is AWA Vault. So AWA Vault is a cloud platform that was launched 2.5 years ago that is able to bring that data into a platform that first is geospatial to organize that data. So any data in agriculture, and that's one of the difficulties we have in ag compared to other industries, it's not just tabular data, it's geospatial too. So that combination of geospatial and tabular is pretty complex. Those of you that have to deal with QGIS and Excel and all this other tools that are out there, it's pretty complex. So this solves for that and allows to build on the knowledge we already had on our own algorithms on imagery analysis, but now we can tackle all the other information that is needed for these analysis. So weather data, satellite data, machinery data, we're connected with Field View, with John Deere, Ops Center, the UAV, and we have our own app that you can collect data in the field. So that's the basis of the platform. And then for those, beyond the research programs and sales and marketing teams and the companies, looking at the industry overall, you also have that problem, right? I have thousands of farmers trying to, maybe it's a piece of data, maybe it's carbon, maybe it's weather, maybe it's soil type, maybe all these little pieces of data that you need in order to create that, chain of custody for your products or your processes can become very complex. So we help on that phase as well to bring that together in a single platform. And also because it was built to be API ready, we can connect with ERP systems, right? So if you're running some other ERPs proprietary to that company, we can connect to that. And last but not least, I want to bring you a case study. We're working actively in Argentina right now. So AWA operates on all continents in the Americas per se. Most of our sales are here in the US, but the first time we're working with farmers is in Argentina. This group called RIA, it's a very advanced group of farmers. It's only 11 farmers, but they farm together 1.7 million acres. And one of their issues is these guys are so big, they have IT teams, they have agronomist teams, they are like big companies on their own, but they cannot answer alone the ROI question. So we heard this morning that not every field is the same as the next one. So in order to be detailed to that level, you got to start geospatial and then build up that data to be able to connect maybe with your ERP, your costs, and understand, hey, should I be investing all this precision ag on these acres or just blanket out through all my acres, right? So that's one of the questions we're helping them answer. And it's on a field-by-field and sometimes sub-field basis. Because of that capability, we have to collect that data and organize it, and then apply algorithms. So our business model, we have a platform that we sell the license to it, but also there's a whole set of algorithms that we have developed some, but it's also an open platform for other algorithms from other companies like the ones we partnered with last year, like Centera, Intellinair, and others that have their own algorithms that can be applied over the data that's already organized in our platform. And then the outcome of that is a user-friendly BI. It's built on Tableau that's also in the platform that then you can build your own charts, your own statistics, and so on. So that is basically our presentation. So AWA, your data.
All right.
Thank you.
Great job, Carlos. And over to our Dolphins.
All right, I'll go first. Great job. So one of the things I'm really interested in a lot of these, you commented on the issue of all this data, right? And data analysis for farmers is the biggest issue. So what does technical assistance look like from your organization, or who's implementing your technical assistance to help deliver your product to farmers?
So specifically with this case study, these guys already have like teams of agronomists in-house, and they are feeling that difficulty of bringing everything from these systems to their Excels and their pivot tables and their shared drives, right? So we're taking all that away because that's what's taking most of their time. and allowing them to have a platform where all this data is already organized geospatially, and then they can do analysis, use that time of compiling data to analyze the data, and that's where they're seeing the value.
Another question going off of that, what are the primary use cases that you've been able to gain traction on so far as you've been selling?
So several in different, so we help seed companies, crop protection companies, crop nutrition companies, biological companies on their research programs, and now more and more going into their marketing and product development programs. It's all trial-based data, and interesting enough, we're talking with some co-ops in Brazil and retailers in Brazil, one of them pretty large. They do 2,000 trials a year for marketing purposes, and out of those 2,000, they only collect data out of maybe 200. So there's a lot of opportunity to learn exactly how those products are performing that they currently, today, they don't have the ability to do. And with this kind of platform, they'll be able to do.
Thanks, Carlos. And the question goes to, you mentioned very large companies among your customers and very different realities. So, and then you have platform and sort of a custom solution. So the question is, how you navigate this conflict, or being the platform business model with the custom solution business model in such a complex environment?
Yeah, no, great question. Well, it is kind of a customer-to-customer approach. The bulk of the platform is not changeable. So we call it multi-tenant. So it's kind of like a hotel where you share, electricity, water with everybody else, but you have your own key for your room. So that's what we offer our clients, right? They're sharing the platform in a sense, on an infrastructure sense. And then the customization part is mostly on the BI part, on the reports and charts and analytics that they want. And that's actually priced separately, right? So that's how we manage. And then the discussion usually is, okay, I have the money to maybe build something like this. And then our counter to that is like, yeah, it's going to take you 1 to 2 years to build it. And then for those that are ex-Monsanto or Bayer here, Velocity comes to mind. That's our version of it. But it's for profit and it works. And the detail there is you're going to be behind. After 2 years, you build the system, you're still going to have to maintain it, right? And with all the other customers that we're dealing with, we're going to be more advanced than you 2 years from now. So that's the point.
Okay. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you,
you.
Dolphins.
Thank you.
Now, next up, I'm not supposed to show favoritism, but I give Dan Grotsky from Groundwork Bio the award for the best haircut of everyone that's here. So welcome, Dan, to the stage. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. There we go. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. My name is Dan Grotsky from Groundwork Bioag in Israel. And what I'm going to show you today is something called Rutella Carbon. It's our carbon program based on mycorrhizal inoculants. The problem that we're addressing is that croplands have become a net carbon emitter. In fact, about 785 gigatons of CO2 equivalent have been released to the atmosphere since the Industrial Revolution, just from land use change from agriculture. And there's no reason we can't put that back. Okay, there's a surplus of CO2 in the atmosphere, there's a deficit in the soils, that has to be reversed. And what we need really is a tool that can do that efficiently, okay, to draw down the CO2 from the atmosphere and sequester it permanently in the soil. And mycorrhizal inoculants actually do that, okay? We're talking about fungi that have symbiotic relationships with plants. And one of the benefits is that they sequester a whole lot of carbon. When I say a whole lot of carbon, it's estimated that natural mycorrhizal fungi sequester about 13 gigatons of CO2 equivalent every year. Okay, this is in grasslands and jungles and forests, whatever. There's no reason that agricultural lands can't do the same thing. But in agriculture, we've basically killed everything, and then we try to grow plants. And so there's a need to restore that life within the rhizospheric ecosystem. And that's what we do. And so we let the farmers basically apply Rutella, our mycorrhizal inoculants, sequester the carbon, earn carbon credits. It's that simple. And the effect size that we're seeing, the carbon yields that we're seeing, are large enough to make that feasible and to make that actually very compelling. Let's take a step back. So the symbiosis that we're talking about is between fungi and plants, plant roots, whereby the fungi penetrate the roots of the plants and effectively extend them in an underground web. The fungi will access nutrients that the plant can't otherwise access and mobilize them and bring them into the plant. When you apply it in agriculture, the farmer gets higher crop yields with less fertilizer and resistance to stress as well, such as flooding, drought, etc. And at the same time, carbon is being sequestered. So all of what I just mentioned is the basis of our business thus far, but then we can add the whole carbon sequestration piece on top of it, which is very compelling for the farmers. As a case study, this is a farmer that joined the Rutella carbon program last year. It was launched last year in the United States, Midwest and Mid-South. This year we're going to expand it quite significantly, and we're also going to launch the program in Brazil. This farmer saw a significant yield increase as well as a significant carbon yield. When I say significant carbon yield, this is based on Vera standard soil measurements across his fields, and showed and this is one of the farmers. We have others that were higher as well, although this is quite high. And so he saw a 13 bushel per acre crop yield increase and a 10.7 ton per acre ton CO2 equivalent carbon yield. So these are very high numbers. I don't expect these to be consistent across all fields by any means. The expectation is pretty high. It's we expect 1 to 4 tons of CO2 equivalent per acre per year as of year one. And this is what's happening now in the program. So a little bit about Groundwork BioAg. We're really the first company that was able to crack the code on how to produce mycorrhizal inoculants cost effectively. We do it at very high concentrations. When I say high concentrations, it lends itself very well to a seed treatment. All you need is 6 grams or 6 milliliters per acre as a seed treatment, so it fits perfectly within standard seed treatment technology. And that's really how we scale it into row crops and scale it worldwide. We've covered 4.5 million acres thus far in 17 different countries where we're registered and commercially active, including the 4 main bread baskets of the world: the US, Brazil, India, China, etc. Raised $40 million of VC money so far, and we are scaling fast. On 4.5 million acres of land, we assess that we've already made a huge impact. And when I say huge impact, it's in 4 different categories. Okay, so first of all, when we talk about increased crop yields, we're talking about producing a lot more food, enough to feed 4 million people for a year. When we talk about stress resistance, even the most significant one being drought, we're talking about 15% of the production saved just from that. Cleaner water, because you can reduce the use of phosphorus fertilizer, so you get less runoff pollution, that can be very significant as the farmers get used to it and reduce their phosphorus fertilizers. And of course, as we said, carbon sequestration. On 4.5 million acres, assuming we're doing between 1 to 4 tons annually, then that comes out to about 9 megatons that have already been sequestered as a result of using our products. Now, that's not something that was measured or monetized as opposed to what's happening now in the Rutella Carbon Program, but that is something that we estimate.
Okay.
Thank you very
I think
much.
we have to wrap it. Yeah, thank you.
That's my
So
last
let's
slide.
turn it over.
Thank you, Dan. My question goes to the wide range of, let me use the word carbon yield.
Yep.
So 1 to 4, one range, and in the case you mentioned, it's 10.7.
Even higher, yep.
10.7. So
That is a huge range.
Put whatever money to that, that's a wide range.
It is a wide range.
How you rationalize placement of these? Obviously, it's not the same, the 1 or the 10.7. So how you look at where you place your product?
What we're seeing is carbon yields that are significantly higher than what is expected in the industry. And we also see that there's quite a lot of variance so far, okay? The measurements that we took so far have been across over 1,000 acres, according to various standards. We still don't have the base from the baseline to a year later, but otherwise everything is being done according to the highest standard. And we're talking about ground truth, so it's soil samples in the lab, dry combustion, the whole deal, okay? So the measurements are very accurate, but it's soil, it's biology, it's, there's variance. So we do see noise, but we do see, we have tested enough thousands of acres to see that there is a huge effect. Now we're saying 1 to 4, and hopefully we'll be able to take that range down as we progress and we get more data and we can reduce the variance and see where it lies. We feel pretty comfortable with 1 to 4 because the measurements taken last year have been higher for the most part. So, we feel pretty confident with that.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're going to wrap it, but thank you very much, all of you,
Thank you.
for doing this. Okay. Thank you. So next up is Nick from Habitaire.
All right, thanks everyone. I don't know about anybody else, but y'all just trying to take this all in. It all sounds exciting. Some of it sounds similar, some of it sounds different, and it's kind of hard to tell how we bring it all together, because that's kind of where I'm at right now. My name is Nick Reinke. I'm the CEO of Habitaire. I think it's worth mentioning kind of where I come from, how I came to be at Habitaire, to give a little bit of context to this conversation. So I grew up on a family farm in North Dakota. My brother's still farming back there. 4th generation family farm. Don't know where it goes after this, but thankfully he was willing to take it over. And I worked in crop insurance and ag banking for about a decade before moving into the sustainability space, seeing what needed to happen in this space. And spent a couple of years at Truterra at Land O'Lakes, building a carbon program end-to-end and seeing all the challenges that there are for scaling an end-to-end carbon sustainability program. So that's what brought me to Habitaire. I met Dr. Kai Yuguan, our founder, saw this is a piece of technology that we really need. So I'll tell you a little bit about what that means, what we do, what we see in the marketplace, and I'll try and make it real quick so we can get to the questions. So we can take a look at this statement here, and I think just about every company that I've seen could make a very similar statement today. So we see a lot of that. What I'll say specifically for us, we're trying to bridge that gap between rigor and scale. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening with remote sensing and imagery and kind of top-down approaches driven by machine learning, so you can get to that scale, but are you really getting the scientific rigor and accuracy? Other side of things is really high accuracy soil carbon measurements and things like that, but how are you gonna scale that effectively? So what we see happening in this market, and we're really focused on kind of the scope 3 market especially, we see that as one of the biggest opportunities in this space. corporations go out, they set big climate targets with very, very poor data, just basic emissions factors, and then everybody's jumping right into these field level intervention projects. Let's go sign up farmers, pay them to change something. We're not sure exactly the best way to quantify it, but then how are we addressing the rest of our emissions footprint? There's no way that these programs scale the way that they're structured right now. The economics just do not work for the corporation, for the farmer, and for those of us that are trying to quantify these things. So the problem behind the problem on this is, for us as a solutions provider, we're trying to build for what the market needs, but the market doesn't even know what it needs, doesn't know what it wants. So what's the level of uncertainty, the level of data quality that we're looking for? Do we need to build the super high-res solution that is very burdensome from a data standpoint, or do we build something that achieves that balance of scale and appropriate rigor to have confidence in the market? So I'm not gonna spend too much time here. The key thing that I want you to take away from this is a lot of solutions are myopically focused on soil carbon right now. Really important part of the system, all for it. Better soil means better planetary health in almost every way and better profitability for the farmers, but we need to look at the complete system. We need to be talking about nitrous oxide emissions. We need to be talking about impact to watersheds and especially impact to productivity, which I feel like is left out of this conversation all too much of the time. And then the other piece about the way that we operate, combining remote sensing and a number of technologies to make it possible to scale a really high quality biogeochemical above ground and below ground model, is with that we can do some really interesting things for regional forecasting of resources. So what if we think the weather's gonna change in a certain way in a certain region? What if we're trying to figure out where we spend our corporate resources to try and get the most impact when we have a looming reporting deadline where we're trying to hit a target? Right now it's pretty blind where we're just saying, well, I think cover crops will get you maybe half a ton an acre a year, so we'll just throw enough money at it to get that half a ton. That's not how it works. There's way more variability than that, so we need to be able to target resources for these programs. And they say if you only have 6 minutes, what you want to do is have really clean slides with not a lot of text. So we can blame the guy who built the slides. It was me. Main takeaway here, it's all about the partnership. So we think about this as collaborative, pre-competitive, and the folks that we're working with, it's everybody from like the National Association of Conservation Districts to a major project that we've got with Tyson, but importantly, it's not just Tyson. It's Tyson, it's McDonald's downstream from Tyson, it's Deloitte supporting the conversation about what Tyson needs for their reporting, how we put it all together, and we are that underlying modeling engine is really where we are focused. So we can work with and want to work with pretty much everybody that we've heard in this room. Soil sampling, yes, let's get more efficient with it, and we definitely need that data. It was well said. These models aren't any good if we don't have ground truth data to validate, verify the outcomes that we're modeling. It's always gonna be imperfect, but we need models to make this work at scale. So traction for us so far, we're really focused in the US Midwest today, doing some really interesting work in Brazil, trying to get through that data scarcity problem down there. And because of the suite of technologies that we built around our model, I want everybody to understand that it's not just about the model itself, it's how do you build those technologies around it to operate in a data scarce environment? What does remote sensing do well? And let's be honest about what remote sensing doesn't do well. Like, it doesn't do tillage very well. But with the right set of parameters and other pieces of technology to say, okay, if we can get an idea of ground cover, and we can get an idea of photosynthetic productivity at field level, now we can start to constrain the model and make it work, even though we don't get the perfect tillage input. But what that unlocks is now if we can get really high resolution like weather and other types of data like that, we can work around the problem of not having enough soil data in places like Brazil. So we're doing some exciting work there. Happy to talk about that after this. So main customer for us is really the CPG with the climate target. There's a lot of different applications of the technology, but today we're really focused on the Scope 3 MMRV and modeling side of things. So where I'll close out, what's really unique for us, it's not just a biogeochemical model. The model's incredible, and we can look at a lot of different aspects of the production system, but it's the way that we can integrate many different pieces of technology, many different sources of data to make that model work well at scale in a data scarce environment, and looking at the comprehensive system when we do it. So, thank you.
Well done, Nick. And we'll turn it over to our Dolphins.
Yeah, so, you know, and it's a common theme in a lot of these like new platforms and new technologies. So can you describe to me kind of who's going to farmers and telling them about this? What does that look like? Who's delivering that message?
Yeah. I'm not going to give you a fun answer for that one, but it's because the real answer is not a nice, concise, oh, this is the channel partner that we work with, because that's not the reality of ag. We talk about trusted advisors like it's this, really consistent, homogeneous class of people that are working with farmers. It's different from one county to the next, let alone one state to the next. So for us, the problem that we're trying to solve is if we can create confidence around the outcomes that we're quantifying, be that kind of digital infrastructure layer that says, okay, the market is confident in what they're buying. We're reducing the data burden on farmers. We can be back end to a lot of different programs. So I take my former company, Truterra, as a really good example. That was an entity that was not an expert in modeling. They had great network with the farmers through the cooperative system, but they needed that underlying technology to make it less burdensome for how much data they were gathering and to make sure they had the confidence at the other side. So it's not a sexy place to be in the back end, but I mean, I'm not gonna be wearing my Habitaire hat, tromping around at a bunch of farms, and we don't need that. So back end is really the answer. Work with existing partners, existing farmer-facing technologies. I think that's really the path for this kind of stuff.
Great, thank you. Could you talk a bit about how you coordinated the complex relationship with Tyson, Deloitte, McDonald's? Those relationships are often extremely complicated.
Yeah, we've been working on that for a little while. So at the start of this year, I had a full head of hair. Like, this was glorious. No, it actually wasn't that bad, because as soon as you get down to identifying like who does what well, and you take some ego out of the room and we all just agree, hey, nobody's got a complete answer for this. This is really challenging. So you get somebody like Deloitte in there that says, hey, we do a good job of just talking to big corporations, helping them with sustainability goals. You get us, we really know the science of the quantification process and modeling. And then you get to Tyson McDonald's where, that's a major supplier-buyer relationship. McDonald's knows they're too far removed from their value chain, so they need to work back up the chain. So just a lot of motivated parties that, credit to them, took the ego out of the room and just said, we'll solve for some part of this, but not the whole thing. Let's go it together. So every partnership's a little bit different, though. It's just you got to navigate it.
All right, we're 20 seconds left. We probably can't
Very,
turn one.
very practical question, Nick, and thanks. That's a lot of work there. Who inputs the data? So the farmer, whose job is that? It's many hours there. So who does that?
Yeah. Compared to the data in other modeling approaches right now, we're using about 20% maybe of the input data from somebody like a farmer. So a lot of the data that I'm talking about is coming from solutions that we've been ground truthing and building with over 30 million in R&D across millions of acres for the last 10 years. So it's a lot of model training, but you always got to continuously improve that, so you supplement it with some gathered data. But this is actually solving the data problem, not adding to it. Yeah.
Thank you, Nick. Excellent job.
Thanks.
And next up, we have Dr. Jin from LeafSpec. Come on up.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here again. So my name is Jian Jing. I'm an associate professor from Purdue University, Agricultural and Biological Engineering Department. So I'm a typical university professor who innovated some technology which we believe is having some value for a lot of the customers. So we were encouraged by the university to commercialize the technology. So I founded this company, LeafSpec LLC, in 2008. Right now, I'm the president and CEO of this company. So basically, what is LeafSpec? It's the instant, on-the-spot plant nutrition and disease diagnosing tool. So it's a hyperspectral imaging-based technology. So think about this as a handheld magic wand. So if you are working in the field, in a cornfield or soybean field, you just swing your magic wand over the leaf. And within just a few seconds, you can get a lot of the information inside into the leaf, including the nutrient level, including the disease, stresses, and chemical damages. So basically what we do, who are our customers, we help farmers to use this tool, use this magic wand to detect plant nutrition and diseases, disease stresses very accurately and early. And we believe we're leading in this area of the sensor technology, and we're very proud to pitch this technology today. And as I just mentioned, this tool has a lot of the potential applications, including nutrition, disease, and so on. So we're actually working with all kinds of different industry companies, and university researchers to test all kinds of functions. But today, due to the limited time, I'm going to just use one example of the one applications, which is the corn nitrogen fertilizing decision making. So how do we make smarter decisions on applying nitrogen to the corn, especially at the V6 stage? That is when the farmers are really wondering how much nitrogen they should dump into the field. So right now, the US farmers in the Midwest, they are actually commonly over-fertilizing the nitrogen by around 20%. That is the common situation as their risk management too. Because if you look at this curve, of course, at the beginning stage, you need to fertilize, otherwise the plant doesn't grow. But there is an optimized point where you fertilize enough. But the problem is the farmer is not having the useful tool or the accurate tool to figure out when that optimized point, that star point, is reached. So their biggest concern is the yield. In order to make sure that they optimize the yield, they commonly over-fertilize to make sure that the yield is reaching the top. So usually over 20%, they are over-fertilizing, they are spending more cost on fertilizer, and they are polluting the environment because the fertilizer flow into the river. Actually, another former company mentioned this issue as well. So look at what's the cost actually if you calculate how much fertilizer is wasted in the land, and if you do the calculation of how many acres in the United States, this is a huge market of almost $5 billion. But what the farmers are doing right now, they actually hire people to go to the field, collect the leaves, put the leaves into the envelope, send it to the chemical companies to do the lab analysis. Very tedious work because they need to hire a lot of the people. And this is very expensive. Right now, each sample costs about $25, especially after the pandemic. The cost is even higher. And this is very slow. It takes several weeks before they can get the result, and it's already too late for them to make any decisions. So actually, the farmers are using this data for the next year's decision making, not for this year. So basically, they don't have a tool to use. So this is our solution. So we want to help farmers to make the right decision. So this is a magic wand we innovated. So as you can tell, it takes only a few seconds. Imagine you are in the field. You slide over the leaf, and within seconds, you see those nutrient, disease, and water information on your smartphone. And each measurement is georeferenced. So if you scan here, scan there, the data system can automatically grab all the data points together and show you the comprehensive report on your map system. So we were very proud to win the 2021 Davidson Prize, which was owned by ASAB and AEM, which was only awarded to 3 companies every year for the greatest innovations in agriculture. So we are very proud of that. So that's about the technology, and it worked really well. So we tested first with the university professors. So in the field, we tested that, and it showed that between high nitrogen and low nitrogen, before one of the greatest, Dr. Mitch Teinstra there, before the greatest corn breeder can see any difference between the high nitrogen, low nitrogen leaves with his expertise eyes, we can already tell such a big difference between high nitrogen and low nitrogen. So that is showing the difference. That is showing our advantage of our technology compared with existing human eye things. So the situation about my company, I founded this company 6 years ago, but I was busy as a professor in the university, still doing research, teaching classes. So I was selling like 0 or 1 devices every year. I was like, every time I make a presentation in the academic conference like this, I receive a lot of the emails in the evening in my hotel room. And they were asking, hey, your device looks great. Can we purchase some? I said, sorry, I don't have time to manufacture any for you. Until 2 years ago, I got my tenure with Purdue University. And the technology was really much more matured. So last year, I spent more time as a CEO of this company, and we sold much more. So last year, our revenue, total revenue of the 1 year is about $400,000. So it's making some progress. And we have 2 markets here. So right now, we are selling just to researchers, university professors, big companies. So actually, one of the big companies not too far away from here is testing our technology in their own research field. And it is working really well, and I felt so great about it. So for the recent field test in this company, they compared this leaf spec technology with other existing technologies, you know, the drone flyers for nitrogen assessment. It showed that our technology is much better in quality. And next week, we have this NAPPN conference, North American Plant Phenotyping Conference at Purdue. This company is actually going to publicly present their result, comparing our technology with the drone companies and show the advantage. So look forward to that. So actually, this company put another big order this year because it's working really well.
Okay, I think we're going to have to wrap it, Dr.
Perfect.
Zhang.
Yeah,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have 1 minute, one question. Who'd like to use it?
Practical question.
Sure.
So what's the example protocol for a farmer for 100 acres, right? Or even a researcher? How many samples do they need to be taking within a 100-acre field?
Yeah, so for nitrogen, actually, in a farm, farmers know it's kind of the uniform, so you don't need to take too many samples. They really just want to make the decision whether or not they need to dump nitrogen again or not. So the number of samples are not really big. The only cost, the major of the cost is the labor cost. We need to hire people, the technicians, and then the field scouting team, scout, to travel around in the field and using our devices to collect data. But once that is done for about 2 times, because as I mentioned, the time point is really at a corn's V6 growing stage. So if our data shows that if you collect some data at V4 or V5, and then V6 again, with the 2 rounds, 2 visits in a farm, combining that, our model can give a quite confident decision-making suggestions to the farmers. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Zhang.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And next up, we have Ron Rustum with Ostara.
Thank you, Dan. Is it working?
It is.
Thank you very much. My name is Ron Rustum. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Ostara. What I wanted to kind of start this off with is we're going to pivot a little bit. You know, everybody else has been talking about different type of technology here. We are a fertilizer company, and it's going to be a little bit different, and we're specifically in the phosphate part of the industry. So we'll zero in on that, and I don't know if everybody here is well versed in fertilizers or in the phosphate industry, so I'm gonna want to take a second kind of to talk about what the problem with the issues are. But our tagline, which kind of aligns well with what we've been hearing today, is feeding the world while protecting it. And really, we exist because the first half of that equation is being done very well with the incumbent fertilizers, which is feeding the world. However, protecting the world at the same time has been an issue really in the fertilizer world for both nitrogen and phosphate. So we are all about the phosphate side. So I guess I can look up here. So phosphorus, just in case you aren't familiar with it, is a finite resource. You have to find a mine somewhere, and you mine that phosphate rock out, and you turn it into fertilizer, and like any mine, eventually the mine's gonna run out. So it's a finite source, and they're only in specific spots of the world. And it's critical for life. That's plant life and that's human life. So you've got something that's critical for us to live, but there's a finite resource of it. So that could create a problem long term, and there's no substitute. Like most other nutrients we have, there is a substitute. There is no substitute for phosphate. So generally, that's the issue around the phosphorus world. So like I said, what we're focusing on is the P and the NPK, and those are the 3 largest nutrients that a farmer would apply, probably combined about 200 million tons here. The phosphate market itself is about 50 to 55 million tons. We put a little explanation up there to kind of understand what 55 million tons looks like, because it's a significant number. But if you filled a hopper rail car, which holds about 100 tons of fertilizer, and you connected a continuous train rail car from Orlando, Florida to Vancouver, British Columbia, and back again, that's equal to 50 million tons of fertilizer, and every year those tons are dumped on the globe. So it's a big marketplace. It's probably $4 billion worth of sales. Whoops, how do I go back? That one?
The red one. I'll take it.
Okay, so the one corner up here, you can clearly see where the phosphate mines are. The largest ones, at least going forward, are going to be probably in Morocco and Russia and China. Here in the United States, the largest mine we have is down in Florida. But again, all of these mines at some point in time could run out. And the problem with these phosphate fertilizers are, like I said, they fertilize very well, but they also have a problem, the fact that they become inefficient because they can tie up in soils, they can run off, and they can leach. And if they run off and leach, you notice it real quick because you're going to see algae blooms in any body of water. So that's the negative side of it. All right, so what does Ostara do? We are a manufacturer of a product called Crystal Green Fertilizer. And Crystal Green Fertilizer is unique. It's a granular fertilizer just like the majority of the phosphates that are sold to farmers globally, and that's whether it's your lawn or growing a corn crop, everything's going to need phosphate. The difference between traditional phosphate fertilizers and Crystal Green is we don't tie up in the soil, which makes it much more efficient. We don't run off a field, and we don't leach. So you're going to grow the crop exactly the way you have been. You're going to get a yield that's equal or better, but you're not going to have any downstream risk of that fertilizer leaving your field. And like I said before, it's quite evident in algae blooms, which are all over the globe, and it's all attributed to phosphate running off, either from phosphate fertilizer, from livestock, or a leaky septic tank. But the vast majority is the fertilizer market. So that's what's unique about Crystal Green, and that's what makes it a lot more efficient. So we've had success. We've been around. Now what we do is we're engaging with the retail market very well, and we're doing this globally. We've been selling tons in Europe. We sell it in Canada. We sell it in North America. And we also are bringing to what we've talked about here all day long is doing more with less. That's what resonates very well with our growers and with our retailers. And our story isn't just, and it can be, use less fertilizer, get an equal or better crop. That's one way of doing more or less. Or it may be using more fertilizer, but doing less damage downstream. So there's a lot of ways with Crystal Green you can increase yield, maintain yield, but either way, you're going to be doing, you can either use less fertilizer and do less damage. Okay, and oops, Dan, can you take it back again one more time? Sorry. So we are a St. Louis-based company. That plant on the right, or my right, your left, should be fully commissioned here by June. It'll be a 200 to 250,000 ton plant. It's sitting right on the river. We're pretty excited about it. We have 26 smaller plants across the globe that don't produce more than 25,000 tons, but this will be a major player. And right kitty corner from this building is our new office here inside the Benson Hill building. But this plant, should, like I said, should be up. It'll be doing a major amount of work here. Okay, just wrapping this up. So we've got a lot of momentum. We sold 100,000 tons over the last several years. Now we have a plant that'll produce 200,000+ tons a year. That'll grow up considerably. If phosphate leaves the field, it looks like that picture with the algae. We've all seen that. It's generally nitrogen and phosphate driven. On the right, we've been on millions and millions of acres and millions of dollars of trials. We know this is how it works. So kind of to wrap it up, which I guess I am wrapped up, we start out by saying we're feeding the world. That's a big goal of ours, and while we're protecting it, and that's a big goal of ours. So the whole emphasis of Ostara is to deliver on that bet, and now we have a brand new plant and ready to go.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay, thank you.
Two questions. What's the first question is regarding the raw material. So what's the starting raw material? You said it's not mine, so not clear. And then if you compare, let me use MAP as a typical farmer use. So what's the cost per acre comparison with Crystal Green?
Okay, two parts there. The first part is the 26 plants that we have around the globe. Those are wastewater stream-driven plants, so we take the liquid ammonium phosphate of that stream and make a fertilizer out of that. The plant in Florida and the plant here in St. Louis will use MAP as our raw material. So what others look like a finished product, we're going to use that as a raw material, and that's our ammonium phosphate. We break that down, solubilize it, react it, turn it into a new product called Crystal Green. So that's our raw material. So again, it's a mine source, but we can make 2 tons of Crystal Green out of every ton of MAP, so we're stretching it a lot further. When it comes to grower farm gate. They follow our recommendation, which is generally a balance of crystal green and MAP. We want MAP to get a little bit of that early stage started, and after that, crystal green takes over. For most situations, we're almost at parity at the farm gate, and what we'll deliver is an equal better yield, and then we've got that really large environmental value. So we're trying to go to the farm gate at about the exact same price, so the farmer doesn't feel that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, well, I have my most Dolphin-y question. What is the value of having a US-based fertilizer company?
Thank you. I guess security, right, more than anything. We definitely bring the majority of our phosphates are coming in from US manufacturers. Of course, we hit a few offshore ones, but as you saw, China and Russia being the major suppliers here in Morocco, if you've got an issue with that country, you're gonna have some supply issues. We are based right here, and that's why we did get, of the last USDA money that came out to help support alternative fertilizers built in the United States, we got an $8 million grant from them to build our business. So yeah, thank you very much for that one. Yeah, we're based here, which gives everybody a lot more security in our supply.
And then last question. So with the new facility that you're building, when do you expect to sell the full capacity?
Well, our shareholders would have to start in June, sell it out in July, but that's probably not gonna happen. We have a ramp of probably the first year 50,000 tons, then 125, then 200,000 tons. It may go quicker because, like I said, we sold 100,000 tons over the years, but we've never been able to sell more because we were at capacity. Now we need to go pressure test the market. Are they ready to kind of move up real fast, which it could be sold out in the first year, but we're planning on sort of a ramp up over a couple of years, but it could come a lot quicker than that.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have Andre with PES Technologies. You've got something stuck on your shoe here. Welcome.
Hello. My name is Andrei Porovic, and I'm the CEO of PES Technologies. And I'd like to take the opportunity to firstly thank our host for inviting us to present and tell you why we see ourselves the future of soil health measurement. Now, I won't go through this in detail. We know that it's important to improve soil health, and there are a lot of people looking to do so. Governments worldwide are legislating for its improvement through various laws. They're looking to do that. Corporates are looking to introduce sustainability auditing of their supply chains for ESG, as well as for marketing purposes. But lastly, also farmers, such as the farmers in this room, realize how important soil health is, not only for basically improved productivity, but also yield consistency in the face of climatic uncertainty. However, there's one issue that is affecting the uptake of improving soil health, and that is that in order to understand soil health, you need to understand its biological, chemical, and physical aspects. And while there are a lot of good quality tests for physical and chemical, there are no good quality, affordable tests for the biological aspects of soil health. And that, in fact, is the mission statement upon which the company was founded. And in order to do that, we developed this device. So it's similar to my colleagues over there, Magic Box, but basically what you do is, this with one test provides the biological, chemical, and physical data needed for a comprehensive soil health assessment, and it provides it to your phone in 5 minutes and can be done in field. It's traceable. All results are GPS logged and timestamped, meaning it's suitable for auditing and things like MRV. And lastly, but not least, it's affordable. We've developed a system for making this technology mass manufacturable so that at launch, it's going to be sold for 25 pence per test in the UK when we launch later this year. But ultimately, it could be done for very small amounts. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want to incentivize mass testing, reduce the barrier for testing, because that is what's going to reduce the risk, minimize the risk of actually looking to improve soil health, testing all the novel practices for regenerative ag and sustainable ag that are necessary for doing so. So I won't go through this in detail, but these are the indicators that we provide with one test. Biological is the key thing that it comes from. Microbial biomass, we're trained to the chloroform fumigation method, but also respiration. We do physical and chemical indicators, ones that are typically used for agronomic decision making. But we're also providing organic matter, and we're going to be expanding it. We're going to be developing a microbial biodiversity data set, as well as developing a whole separate product focusing just on sequestered soil carbon. The ones in dark green are the ones that we're going to be launching with this spring. Now, I just want to talk about a case study. While we're launching in the UK, actually I want to talk about this company, Leaf, because it's indicative of the work we might want to do with companies in here. They are looking to do MRV in a South American country. And I mean, I won't go through the timeline, but basically we started discussions with them in the middle of last year. It takes about 2 years to localize, we discussed earlier that you need to soils are different in different parts of the world. You need to be testing so that you're accurate in those areas. And it takes about 2 years to go from starting to talk about it to having something that can be trialed with customers and looked at being fully commercially validated and rolled out. So we're looking to launch with them in the market by the latest Q1 2026. And I won't go through the key tasks, but the key pain points we resolve is, we replace traditional lab testing, the need to send soil samples to laboratories, the carbon costs of lugging around huge volumes of soil from hundreds of thousands of hectares. But we also reduce the test cost as well. It's 150 pounds plus for the assessment that these wanted to do, and we can sell it for 25 pounds a test. And lastly, but most importantly, for these guys specifically, they want to have independent and robust MRV. And that is something we can do with the traceability of our results. Talking about customer segments, we see that there's 3 key customer segments for us. There's agronomists and farm managers. These are ones who are looking to optimize the practice of regenerative agriculture on farm. Not sure what happened there. But also they want to have in-field data-driven decision-making. Actually, as my colleague discussed earlier, very similarly, a lot of agronomic decision-making is you send the result back, you find out what you should have done next time. Whereas we can actually provide the data they use in-field for decision-making there and then. Novel input suppliers and producers are also very interested in working with us because if you're looking to produce something that's based on biological, improving microbial community, it's difficult to prove that it's performing to customers if you don't have a biology-based test. And lastly, corporates are interested in working with us because of the fact that we can help them produce credible and robust MRV for soil. I won't go through the slide, but suffice to say, with a huge amount of interest, upon launch, over 200 companies in the UK have expressed interest or intent in purchasing our device as soon as it's available this summer. And now, just to go, what makes us unique? It's the fact that we provide biological and non-biological data for soil health assessments with one easy-to-do in-field test. And we want to influence the ag industry and regenerative agriculture by enabling the mass testing to unlock the biological data behind regen ag, because ultimately we want to minimize the risk of adopting novel practices that are based around soil that is fueling the regenerative agricultural revolution. And lastly, a call to action before I hand over the questions. We're seeking partners to bring the product onto the US market from 2025 onwards. If you're interested in talking to us about how we could do that, please find me afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre.
Great, thank you so much. So are there any trade-offs in terms of data accuracy when you think about the speed and lower cost of the test?
No, we found that the accuracy that we have is just as good as the labs. So, the accuracy result is when we worked, we were told that as long as you're over 80% accurate, that's what roughly the labs are, you're fine. And that's because of the natural variability of soils within a given space. And we are above that, we're about 90% accuracy for each of those indicators.
Okay, thank you.
What about sampling temporal timescales, right? I mean, so sampling in the spring, sampling in the summer, sampling in the fall, you could get different numbers, right?
Yeah.
So what is with your product, do you have an ideal time frame that you would like them to use that product?
That is a great question. We have trained it for sampling in the spring and in the autumn in the UK. because that's when most of the planting is done and that's when a lot of preparation is done. Basically, because, I didn't explain, but it's a biology-based test. It's based on smell, the idea that actually the microbial community produce a variety of metabolic byproducts. So basically, when the microbial community is active is when you're going to be getting the most results. Now, we are looking to see if we can test outside of season, but that's kind of an expansion beyond what to do. And when we expand into foreign territories, the idea is to be basing it around the growing seasons they have there as well.
What's the price of the Magic Box?
So when we launch, this box will be sold for £3,000 in the UK, and it's kind of like a mobile phone. You use it, it allows the testing to be done. It's bought once every 3 to 5 years or so. And the tests are on this cassette. There's about 100 tests in this cassette, and we price it about £25 per test. However, we are aware that it might be beneficial to move to something like a subscription-based model, because we want to incentivize, enable that mass testing. But we need the first year of sales to understand exactly what the unit economics of that would look like so that we can provide that as a fair price for consumers as well as for ourselves.
Follow-up question, it's all solid state, or you have reactives or other components inside the cassette?
It's all just soil. All you need is just a trowel to dig a soil sample from the 5 to 15 centimeter depth. And I didn't actually show it. You just open the drawer, pop the unit on this plate, pop it back in the drawer, hit go on your phone, and that's it. It's as simple as that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Andre.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. One other insight I learned is if you ever see Andre going through the airport in front of you at security, take the other line if he's carrying that. So, okay, we are going to turn it over to Irving with Selena to wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your attention. It's a pleasure to present Selena. I am the CEO and one of the co-founders of Selena. In Selena, we are committed to enhance agricultural productivity and sustainability through the soil microbiome data. For this, we have created a tool that we call Prometheus that is helping us to achieve this commitment. As you may know, and we have been listening to this all day, agricultural soil is one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. This complexity, it is because it exists so much biodiversity, it's so variable, it's dynamic, and this complexity can be translated to the farmers that they are not aware, or they don't like to change their agricultural management because they could lose productivity. That's a huge complex problem for region ag adoption. We have created Prometheus. Prometheus it's our platform. It utilizes 2 different set of technologies. One is for data generation. We use next generation sequencing, so we can generate high throughput information from the soil microbiome. And we use AI to analyze and understand this data and this information. We are focusing on understanding the soil microbiome functionalities. Functionalities different from microorganisms. It's an homogeneous factor that it remains agnostic independently from the crop and from the type of soil. Well, Prometheus is being used for solve this complexity of the soil by creating customized treatments soil by soil. We're putting together productivity and sustainability in the same equation. We use Prometheus to understand what is the impact of a region ag practice of a specific input in the soil microbiome. We get so deep to understand what are the difference, talking about the genes and the functionalities. With a single sample that we analyze through third-party labs that are connected to Prometheus, we can get information from the pathogens in soil and the risk level. We can get information from how these functionalities are related to parameters such as carbon, water efficiency, climate resilience, crop nutrition, and so more. We use this information first for measure the impact, to have a sense of how good is the health in the soil. And secondly, most important, to prescribe solution, custom solution for the farmers based on the data that we can recover from soil. I'm showing here an example, in a case of study with PepsiCo. We help them translate what is their impact or benefits to the farmer of the Region Ag framework. How is meaningful and why is meaningful to farmers? We found that potato growers of PepsiCo, they were using too much of the inputs and resources to grow their crops. And they have a huge opportunity to lower the agri-chemical footprint. That's something that we can measure from the soil microbiome functionalities. So we partnered with the local input suppliers. We monitor and track the pathogens during the crop cycle. And we managed to prescribe custom treatments based on what is the right product, what is the right dosage, what is the right moment of application. At the end, we help farmers align and use only what their soil was demanding. We reduced the agri-chemical footprint by 30%. We increased the return over investment by 70%. And most important, we have alignment between farmer goals, food company goals, and input supplier goals. We managed to create this partnership, this project in 2 stages mostly. The first one, baseline creation. Every soil is different. We need to understand what is the score of a good healthy soil and a really bad soil. So the second stage is monitoring during the crop cycle for adjusting prescription continuously. Right now, we are in the second year with PepsiCo. We are helping them to increase their footprint of Region Ag from 1 region to 3 regions. And we are placing Prometheus right in the middle, helping food companies support their sustainability claims and helping input suppliers support their product claims and prescribe custom solutions that can help their customers, the farmers, to maintain productivity. Well, this is an example for customers. We work with more than 50 in 6 different countries. We work with food companies, we work with input suppliers, and even we work by sharing our data to software companies. We have more than 500,000 acres worth of data, and we have done more than 1,000 prescriptions. Well, Solina, it's different because we focus on soil microbiome functionalities. As I was explaining, functionalities, they remain in soil. Every crop, every type of soil, they need same functionalities, similar to NPK and some other, right? And that's different from the microorganisms that they are crop specific and in some cases, soil specific, right? Secondly, we have managed to create a platform, cloud-based platform that can leverage on third-party infrastructure, labs that are already there, that they have either sequencing technology or they have molecular biology technology. We just plug it into Prometheus and help them to make sense from the soil microbiome data. We are creating value for all the stakeholders by placing the soil understanding right in the middle, food companies, input suppliers, and farmers. And well, we have a proven impact so far. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Irving. Okay, I'll turn it over to our Dolphins.
Thank you, Irving, and yeah, congratulations. Amazing what you've done there. My question goes, you mentioned, you used the word prescribe and custom solutions.
Yes.
For me, that means producing different products. My key question for you is how are you approaching regulatory bodies? Because that means starting a regulatory process for each of the solutions you want to drive. So again, congratulations, but I think you got a big topic at hand, handling regulatory topics.
Yeah, definitely. In a nutshell, what we are trying to achieve, it is also called soil microbiome engineering. That's like the fancy words, right? And there are like 2 ways of doing that. The first one is like selecting the inputs that they already exist in the market, like what is the right product, what is the right dosage. Those are variables that we can control through Prometheus. And by using products that are already approved and that they have already used in the market. The second one that is, is of course very exciting, and we are like working with some companies to achieve that, is to create the new generation of inputs based on soil microbiome data. Because in one hand, we know what the food companies and the farmers, they need in terms of soil functionalities. And in the other hand, we know what the products out there in the market, their actual impact into the soil. We can know actually what could be a really good product, but that's a secondary approach. And mostly our solution is customized treatments based on whatever the farmer is actually using. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate your talk. One of the things that oftentimes gets missed is the microbial community, right? People narrow in on what this microbe does, what that microbe does. Can you explain to us a little bit more about understanding more of the micro community as they interact with each other?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate your question. That was a dolphin question. Yes, I mean, microorganisms by individuals, it's pretty, like, I must say, like, difficult to understand their functionalities as an individual, because out there in the community of soil, it's a complex dynamic happening. So our approach, it is, I mean, of course, we can infer the individual's microorganisms, but it's much more important what is the community actually doing, performing as a community. Are they helping the crops? Are they damaging the crops? Do they have some kind of functionality that is meaningful for sustainability? That's what we're doing. And that's why we need NGS to generate high throughput data from the soil microbiome. And we need a really powerful tool such as AI to understand this information in a context. But yeah, that's our approach. Thank you, Jack.
Okay, thank you, Irving.
Oh, that was time.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Take that.